In the wee hours of the morning of Valentine's Day 2000, a 9-year-old girl named Asha Degree grabbed her backpack loaded with some postal items and some clothes. She then left her house sometime after 3:30 a.m. in the morning. Then, a short time later, she disappeared into the woods, never to be seen again. Tonight, we'll be exploring the case of Asha Degree. This is Night Owl. Good day, one and all. I'm Ted, your host, and welcome back to Night Owl. Today, we're off to Shelby, North Carolina, where we will be looking at the case of Asha Degree. On August 5th, 1990, she was welcomed into this world by her parents, Harold and Jaquilla Degrees, along with her big brother, O'Brien. Now, both of her parents were pretty hard-working people. He worked as a dock loader at the Pittsburgh Plate Glass Company, and her mom built pianos for Kauai Manufacturing. And of course, with both parents working, Asha and her big brother was pretty much on their own after school. They'd have to let themselves in and get busy with their homework. Now, they tried to shield their kids from any kind of outside influence. In fact, pretty much all they had in their life was connections with their external family, the church, and, well, school. According to Asha's mother, she said that it seems every time you turn on the TV, you hear about a child getting abducted by someone they met online. So they tried to prevent that. I mean, they didn't even own a computer. She said that Asha seemed to handle it fairly well, though. Never complained about it, saying, "Mom, I'd like to do more." She also mentioned in an interview that she had with Jet that she was really scared of dogs, and that she can't believe that she actually chose to leave the house. Now, Asha was a pretty athletic kid. She was actually part of a basketball team. And on February the 12th, she had a game. Unfortunately, her team did lose. I guess Asha actually fouled out. And of course, she was upset by it, and she cried with the rest of her teammates. But later on, she had got to watch her brother team play, and she seemed to have recovered from her loss. On February the 13th, they went to church, which for them is not, uncommon. They got home at around 8 p.m. Shortly thereafter, they went to bed in a room that they both shared. About an hour after that, the power went out due to an auto accident that was fairly close to where they lived. The power stayed off till about 12:30. When the power came back on, Harold, the dad, went to check up on him, and they were both fast asleep. And then he checked on him again when he was on his way to bed. That was at around 2:30 a.m. and saw them both still fast asleep. A short time later, O'Brien recalls that he heard his sister's bed springs creak. He, didn't pay it much mind. He figured she was just repositioning herself. But what he didn't realize is it was at this time that she had actually got up, grabbed her book bag, and left the house into the night. Gee, I wonder why she'd do that. Now, at around 4 a.m., both a truck driver and a motorist claim that they saw someone matching Asha's description walking south down Highway 18. Struck them incredibly odd that a child of that age would be out at that hour. Now, the motorist actually did a U and actually drove by about 3 times. He said he saw Asha jump into the woods and then she was gone. She disappeared. Both the truck driver and the motorist had called the police after they saw a TV news report about Asha. And the county sheriff said that does sound like her. I mean, it matches the description of what she was wearing to a T. Both the police and the truck driver and motorist did say it was not good weather at all. There was a storm raging, driving rain, the whole 9 yards. So what the hell was she doing out there? Now, her mother woke up at about 5:45 a.m. to get her kids up and ready for school. So she went in to wake them, and she saw her son, O'Brien, still in bed, but there was no sign of her daughter. She was gone. So her mom looked all over for Asha, through the house, checked the cars that was parked out front, nothing. So it's at this point she told her husband, Harold, that she couldn't find her. And Harold suggested, well, maybe she just went across the street to your mom's place. So she called there and they hadn't seen her. She was just gone. Now, by 6:40, the cops were already at the Degree's house. They brought along with them dogs, but unfortunately the dog was not able to pick up Asha's scent. So Asha's mom went throughout the neighborhood calling her daughter's name. By 7 a.m., everyone in the neighborhood knew what had happened. Friends, family, neighbors, they all canceled any plans they had to go to work, to go see friends. They canceled it all to help in the search. The pastor of their church, along with several other clergymen, all showed up to their house to give their support. But pretty much on that day, the only thing they found was a mitten, which was identified as not belonging to Asha, seeing how no winter clothing had been taken. On the 15th of February, they did actually find their first clues. They found a bunch of candy wrappers in a shed that belonged to a neighborhood business. The position of this shed was actually fairly close to where Asha took off into the woods. Along with these wrappers, they also found a pencil, a green magic marker, and a yellow hair bow, all of which has been identified by her family as belonging to Asha. But they did find something really strange um, with the other items in the barn, and that's like a wallet-sized picture of a girl around Asha's age, but Asha's family couldn't identify her. Uh, According to a Charlotte Observer, this photo was supposed to be of one of Asha's friends, but as far as I can tell, she still never has been identified. Now, on the 16th of February, Asha's mom went into the kids' room to see if she could see anything, find her own clue, maybe a note or something like that. What she discovered was that her backpack was missing, along with some of her favorite clothing, including a pair of blue jeans that had a red stripe up the pant leg. Now, about a week after that, the search was caught off. Flyers were indeed posted all over the neighborhood, and tips had come in. Like they got about 300 tips. None of them really panned out. I guess the search radius was between 2 and 3 miles, or 3.2 to 4.8 kilometers. And they were coming up with goose eggs at this point. Now, that does not mean that they simply closed the case or consider it to be cold. No, not at all. In fact, in a press conference held on the 22nd of February in 2000, the Sheriff Crawford, said that they were going long range to search for Asha. The FBI was now involved, along with the State Bureau of Investigations, or SBI. They both put them in their own data banks for missing children. And according to them, they said they were going to follow everything. Now, based on what Asha took with her, the investigators believe that she had planned for at least a few days to leave. The thing is, both the investigators, along with different experts, all agree that this is not exactly a typical runaway situation. Normally, it's not till you're about 12 years old where someone running away becomes a concern. And then the other thing is, normally there's a reason for it, and there doesn't seem to be one. From everything they were told, there's no signs of her family being dysfunctional. She had no issues in school. She's getting straight A's. She had tons of friends. So there's no reason for her to just decide to pack up and leave. Of course, this case did get nationwide attention. About a month after Asha went missing, her family went on the Montel Williams show to talk about their daughter and try to keep it fresh in everyone's mind. There was also America's Most Wanted and the Oprah Winfrey Show that dedicated a few segments to Asha. The police actually erected a full billboard with information about her on Highway 18 right around where she went missing. And there was a stock car racing driver named Travis Kinnerson who actually put a picture of Asha on the hood of his car. And his race and all the information about it was broadcast on TNN. The driver said, "We got a perfect opportunity to put Asha's picture on our car, and maybe, with any luck, we can bring her home." Now, in August 2001, they actually found Asha's book bag. It was discovered at a construction area, about 26 miles or 42 kilometers away from Shelby. The book bag was wrapped up in plastic bags, and it was confirmed that it was indeed Asha's. So, of course, it was sent off to Quantico in Virginia to be examined more fully. Now, when they actually opened and took a look inside the bag, they found some things, including a book by Dr. Seuss named McElligot's Pool, and a T-shirt depicting the musical group New Kids on the Block, neither of which belonged to Asha. The book, however, did come from the same school that Asha went to. And of course, tips continued to come in for many years. Tons of tips came in. Most of them were nonsense. Example, in 2004, they got a tip from an inmate saying that they knew where Asha was buried. So they went and dug up the intersection in Lonsdale and discovered there was indeed bones there. Animal bones. In 2005, several vehicles belonging to two local businesses put Asha's image on the side of the vehicles. These businesses were Pro, which was a water cleanup and restoration service, and the other one was Republic GDS. Now, according to the president of Republic GDS, which is a waste management company, he said that, and I quote, "We are doing this for one reason and one reason only. That's to bring Asha home. And moving forward, maybe we can do this to help other missing children." An age-progressive photo of Asha was created by the FBI, and it was featured on like 28 vehicles for a period of 30 to 60 days. Of course, her family wanted to keep both her memory and the case alive in people's minds and hearts. So they developed a scholarship in her name that would go to deserving students every year. They also began an annual walk to raise awareness and money to help fund their search for their daughter. The walk would start at the family's home and continue on to whereabouts Asha disappeared into the woods. Now, originally, it was on the anniversary of her going missing, which was February the 14th, which was Valentine's Day. But the family decided to change it, eventually landing on February 6th. They just felt Valentine's Day is supposed to be the time for lovers and didn't want it to be act as a reminder of something so tragic and sad. In 2013, her mom did an interview on the network Jet, and she actually wasn't all that thrilled on how the media handled the case. She didn't feel that her daughter was given enough attention, and she thought that it could be because she's black. And she claimed that if it had been a white child, she would have got tons more coverage than she actually did. Now, I'm not so sure if that's totally true or not, but if it is, then she has every right to be angry. I mean, it's like I always say, everyone deserves justice. And race simply shouldn't even enter into it. Now, in May 2016, the FBI announced that they actually had a brand new lead. It seems there was a witness that claimed to see Asha get into a green vehicle. It was described as a early 1970s Lincoln Continental Mark IV, or possibly a Ford Thunderbird. She got into it, the vehicle around the area where she disappeared. The only other standout feature that this vehicle may have is that they said there was like rust around the wheel wells. Now, in September 2017, they had multiple law enforcement agencies all working together as one unit. It wasn't just the FBI and local police. It was also the Child Abduction Rapid Deployment, or CARD for short. Working together, they were supposed to provide a more on-the-ground response. And in the process, they wound up conducting over 300 interviews. In October of 2018, they actually asked for the public's help with any additional information that someone may have, particularly with what was found in Asha's book bag, including that Dr. Seuss book and the New Kids on the Block short. The investigators said that they were vital clues. In November 2020, a inmate named Marcus Mellon contacted a newspaper, the Shelby Star, and said that he had information in regards to Asha. He claimed that she was no longer alive, and he knew where to find her body. About 2 weeks later, the investigators went to where he said, and there was nothing there. He had lied. Now, in September 2024, the police was given, and they carried out, a search warrant on a local property. According to a press release that the sheriff's department gave out, they said that no, they hadn't found any remains, but they did find quite a bit of physical evidence for the case, including a green 1964 AMC Rambler, which they, of course, seized to check out. But after all this, the police had to concede that, yes, they did not think that Asha was still alive and that her body was being hidden or concealed somewhere. And that's not the only search warrant they used. On February 13th, 2025, they used the search warrant to, they claim, to a few cell phones from a man and his two daughters. And on April 4th, the same person in question, his property was searched by the investigators. And who was this family? They were the Dedman family. Following the search warrants that they implemented in 2024 and 2025, the police had identified them as potential suspects in what happened to Asha. The family members included Roy Dedman, that would be the father, his wife, Connie, and their three daughters. Annie Dedman, who was 13 years old at the time of Asha's disappearance. Sarah Dedman, who was 15 at the time. And Lizzie Dedman, which was 16 at the time. Now, what connection do they have to the case? Well, allegedly now, there's DNA evidence. In fact, in Asha's book bag, they believe they found Annie's DNA along with another gentleman's DNA, a guy named Russell Underhill, who actually lived at the rest home that was actually owned by the Dedmans. Something else that connects them is, well, the vehicle, the 1964 green Lincoln Rambler style vehicle. It matches almost perfectly the description of the vehicle that Asha allegedly was reported in getting into. There was also an alleged confession. A friend of Lizzie Dedman, now Lizzie Foster, claimed that in the mid-2000s, she had told him that she brought an end to Asha. She told him, well, she was intoxicated. As I mentioned, they had received warrants for the cell phones. They thought that maybe there'd be information on it where they could at least get them in their station for obstruction. Now, what they found on the phones were text messages, particularly between Lizzie and her sister Sarah. Some of the messages include things like, from Lizzie to her sister, the theory is I did it by accident and we covered it up. And she also said in it that I feel so horrible, I caused this, indicating that once she made an admission of guilt and that she actually felt guilty for it. Now, these two sisters was also debating in regards to their father, Roy. You see, as far as they were concerned, he'd be the main suspect. So because they didn't want their father to go up the river, they were trying to decide on whether or not they should be cooperating with the police at all. But during all these text messages, what did come across clearly was that Lizzie did feel a great amount of guilt for what had happened. But it's important to acknowledge the fact that all these claims against the Deadmans is, at the moment, just allegedly. There's never been any charges brought against them, at least not yet. And frankly, I don't understand why. There's been people that got whole convictions with less. So hopefully something will happen with it fairly soon. Of course, at this time, the Deadmen have denied any involvement with what happened to Asha. They say the DNA evidence is wrong or fabricated, and they claim that their green Rambler was done in the possessions at the time that Asha went missing. But also keep in mind, the investigation is far from being a cold case. It's still very much active. And yes, right now, most of the efforts are focused on the Deadmans. Hopefully this year, which marks the 26th year of her missing, what happened to Asha will finally be revealed. All it takes is the right tip to come in. Maybe that tip might even come from you. I mean, if you suddenly remember that you've seen something, heard something, was told something, and don't keep it to yourself. Call the FBI at 704-672-6100. Once again, that's 704-672-6100. Don't forget, the tip that you provide might take an open case and turn it into a solved case. What happened to Asha Degree? Why did she decide to leave her house before even the sun arose to face off against such horrid weather conditions? And what truly happened to her after she left? These are mysteries that have plagued us for 26 years. But hopefully, with the onslaught of new evidence, these are mysteries that will be solved one day soon. But what do you think? What do you think made Asha decide now would be a good time to take off? I mean, it was like driving rain, and she was kind of young for the whole runaway thing. Do you think the Deadmans actually had anything to do with any part of this case? Go ahead, tell me what your opinion is. What theories you may have. I mean, everyone's got an opinion, and everyone's opinion normally matters. But before you go, if you could be kind enough to hit like and subscribe and to share this video, because it really does help my channel out. Thanks for coming, and remember, be you good or be you wicked, everyone deserves justice. Good night.